gotta say, before we start, you're probably the most popular people in this building, in the zip code, in the city, because there's so many questions about you and what you do and how you can help this talented group of people here. Before we get into the good stuff, let me know about your good stuff and how you got into the business and why do you have joy in working with young performers?
Oh my goodness, that's a big question. I love this. I started off as an actor. I have a lot of empathy for actors and pivoted many years ago, before most of you are even on the planet, into representation. And I love it. I'm at Cunningham CESD in the voiceover department. Young talent voiceover is our specialty, and it's just fun. It's delightful. It's a chance to exercise your imagination at all times, and no 2 days are ever alike, which is a blessing.
Nice. Maria?
I started out actually doing theater. I grew up in San Diego and was a performer, choreographer. I did casting in theater. And then a magical day, I got a phone call from a friend of mine saying, why don't you do voiceover? Isn't that great? It doesn't matter what anybody looks like. And I ended up coming up here and starting Universal Cartoon Studios and then MGM Animation. And then I went freelance. And I love working with kids. I always have. I started out pretty young myself. And like Melissa said, no 2 days are the same. And it's fantastic. So whenever I work on projects, I rarely, if ever, work on projects that don't use kids in kids' roles because they bring a certain magic. And I learn a lot from you guys. So, and she is the best agent for kids.
So I'm from New York originally. I never wanted to be an actor. I was a theater major in college. My major was drama theater because I wanted to work in theater production. My minor was mass communications because I wanted to work in television. My first job out of college was at a casting office, which I thought was a stepping stone, and I ended up stepping and staying. Did it until I moved to LA, and I've been in LA for probably, I'm going to say 21 or 22 years. When I moved out here, my former business partner and I, Carol and I, worked on a bunch of network studio pilots for the first few pilot seasons, and nothing got picked up to series. Seriously was just looking to work and get a gig. I faxed my resume to Disney Channel saying, I cast the Broadway production of the revival of Annie in '97, so that was my hook, saying I knew how to cast kids. We had a general meeting. They said they couldn't wait to work with us, which is often a curse when someone says that because they never call you, but they did. And we ended up meeting on Hannah Montana 6 weeks later. The original casting directors were not moving forward. We met on the project. We got the series. It was a big hit. People thought I knew what I was doing, and that's why I'm here today.
And McKenna?
I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I was always involved in theater as a kid, some space of art. I was a competitive river dancer. As a child, I like travel the country and compete in river dance, and then I found musical theater and got my degree in that. But I wanted to work with kids, and I got my degree in film acting, and I moved out here, and I was just like, I want to work with kids, and I want to help kids achieve their dreams. And DDO didn't have a stage department, so I founded the stage department so I could help kids sing and live their dreams. And I think like a lot of us in the kid space have chosen to work with kids over adults, and I like it because when you call a 7-year-old with a booking, that's the biggest thing that's ever happened to them in their entire life. And I just love making those calls. That's why I do it.
Very nice. Very nice. Speaking of kids and the classification of this type of performer, what makes a youth performer? What are the age ranges for youth performers? And is it like the pediatrician's office where once you're 18, you're out? Or 21 in some cases?
Usually they start around 6-ish, give or take, just because of the legal work hours, which I know you guys are all familiar with. And I mean, with us in the voiceover, 21, 22-ish, and then we do have a full-on quote-unquote adult department who work with the early 20s and up. I personally, a lot of my kids that I started with, because I've been there 22 years, are now over that age, shall we say, and some of them are even having children that I represent. So I personally work with, we call it young talent, but it's kids, teens, legal 18, into the 20s-ish. So that's me. I know, but it depends by agency as well. I mean, our theatrical department on camera works all ages. I'm sure it's the same with you guys, right?
Yeah, we split it up. So we start around like 3 and 4 for commercial, a couple of babies, and then we do 6 because of the labor laws. I think my oldest client for stage, she's 34, but she's 4'8", and I cannot get her in for anything over than like 13 or 14 years old. So it just depends on how you look and your maturity and how you're presenting.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so she'll be working for all of her life.
Yeah,
as she
I
ages.
don't know what her skincare routine is. I need it. She looks so young.
Regardless of age, what makes a performer a professional? Besides receiving remuneration, payment, what makes them a professional performer?
People, when I'm casting kids, I expect the same thing as I'm casting adults. Commitment to the role, preparation. I find that if I'm casting a role of like 9-year-old girls, they know their business. They have done their homework. If there was a script available, they have read it. They are ready to go, which is not the same for like 35-year-old actors. So it's exciting. It's new. It's the thing with casting kids, which is I'm just going to say the little bonus I didn't know, is that there's a lot of joy, because in this age range, you're not worried about paying your mortgage and thinking of life pressures. It's all about the joy of performing. And when I teach with adults, something that I've added to when someone says, like, what should I be doing? Just remember why you love the business and why you love the performing. Mm-hmm. And if you can remember that joy of performing, that comes through in your auditions. Whether it's the best audition or maybe not the strongest audition, I could see that excitement and magic.
I think it's really important for the parents to pay attention to the child as well, because we have kids who start off and they're all gung-ho and they're like, I'd rather play soccer. Like, listen to that. You know what I mean? If they don't want to do it, that's fine. None of us are keeping our lights on by forcing your child to be in the business. And I personally feel really strongly that unless it's the young actor's idea to do it and they really, really want this, it's okay to stop. Like, don't feel the pressure and don't put that on them.
I'm curious, as an agent for the agents, McKenna and Melissa, how do you help steward your client's professional career and trajectory instead of the immediacy of opportunities and making people understand that long term we have to think about trajectory? How do you make sure they make the right choices?
I just feel like work begets work a lot of the time. And once you get to a point, because also as you become more successful, you'll have added a manager to the team, you'll have an attorney, you'll have a publicist, you'll have all of that going on. At the beginning, you just want to go out for everything you can that's not going to be embarrassing for your grandma to look at, seriously. Or to hear. Yeah, just work begets work.
The grandma rule.
The grandma rule, yeah.
I think for us, it's go out for everything that you can and that you're right for, but also make sure that you're a well-rounded performer. So once a kid's in classes and a kid's in workshops and they think, oh, I've got all the training I need and everything's great, the first time they get on set and they do their first co-star, the next couple of tapes we get are amazing. They grow, they learn. If a client has had trouble working in TV film and just isn't nailing it, and then they do a national tour or they do a Broadway show and they come back and they are just levels above what they were. So take the improv classes, take the workshops, keep doing the theater, keep growing as a performer in all areas, and you'll grow in other areas other than just that one.
It's, that's why we try as much as we can to not bring the kids in during school, because I think it's super, super important, not only for them to still have those extracurricular activities. Someone plays tennis, they're in the choir, they're playing hockey. All of that feeds into who you are as a performer as well. And we have homeschooled kids, we have online school kids. We have kids that go to regular school. We have kids that go to private school. It's such an important part of their life to become just a well-rounded person and a performer. You're in the world. You've got to know all of that stuff, right? I have a lot of kids, especially during COVID, that did sense the isolation. But because we were able to continue working in voiceover, because we were already doing Zoom, before that we were doing Skype. And then Skype kind of went, and then we started doing Zoom. Within a couple of weeks, we were up and running. And so we were able to see that we met everybody's grandparents. We met everybody's pet. I saw every Halloween costume. I knew when people's gardeners were coming, when the laundry was going to turn on during COVID. But we were also able to keep track of the kids and make sure that they were not only doing their schoolwork, which they still had to do, before they worked or after they worked, but we learned so much more about you guys because we were all so isolated. And, then once we met everybody in person, the ones we could that hadn't lived out of town or had to move away to care for parents or whatnot, it was this fantastic community, that we knew about your lives. And so much of it was school, keeping in touch with, with the kids in your class and your teachers and all of that. So I think that's super important to be like well-rounded. Like McKenna said, take workshops, take improv, get out there. Don't focus on just one thing, because everything makes it important as a performer, who you are as a person.
That's a really important bridge to talk about. One, community building. And here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, we have a lot of programs in person here in LA and in New York, also a plethora of data online that you can check out as well. And it's about building personal relationships. So I think people think, oh, it's just transactional, but it's really not. It's about knowing that you love birds. And then I love birds. We can talk about birds. We build a relationship. We build rapport. And that's going to translate into me presenting a better tape when I submit for casting. Talking about classes as well, where should folks start if they're, let's say, on the on-camera world, moving over to voiceover or vice versa? Should they do kind of general acting skills or genre-specific training for youth?
For on camera specifically, because that's where I work, you should be in consistent classes. You should be in a scene study class if you're over the age of like 6. And then specifically on camera versus theater. So I know that a lot of kiddos are like, they do theater at school. They're in their local plays, they're in their kindergarten plays, they're in their first grade musicals, they're doing local conservatories. And that's amazing. We want you to keep being comfy on stage and getting confident, but make sure you're in a specifically on-camera class, because those two styles of acting are so different. And I think a lot of kiddos get used to acting at school. So making sure they're in an on-camera class, taking casting director workshops like that people do is really helpful.
You can do that here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation.
Plug.
For free $99. How about that?
And
today only, you get to be with this group of wonderful people.
I am reiterating everything McKenna just said. It is all true, and there is an art to auditioning, and everything McKenna was saying about the classes you're taking, and I'm a firm believer in doing school shows. When you're working, people will say, well, what do you look for in a resume? And I would love to see Oscar winner, Emmy nominee. I would love to see series regular, guest star roles, because those things that I know there's a sense of professionalism. And the things that I'm looking for, especially with actors who are just starting out, I'm interested to know that you've done commercials or you've done a print job, and people will say, why? What do you mean print if you're doing? Because I know the family understands how to be professional. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that people aren't aware of, they will say, my kid wants to be an actor. He wants to be on Disney Channel, that kind of stuff. And then they get the role, and the parents go into, I don't know, a bit of a panic, because maybe it's a family and maybe you have 3 kids. And now one of them, mom or dad or a guardian, is going to have to not be their job anymore, or working. All those things. The reason why I'm saying print jobs or things like that, parents will know that someone has to take the morning off to bring their kid to the job. You understand a call time. You just understand what the business is like. So I look for that too.
All of that applies to, oops, I'm sorry.
I thought we were going down the road.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Shame.
I'm next.
No, just in voiceover, because that's strictly what I work in, even though I was in a different part of the business myself as a performer. I moved to the other side of the table. But remember, voice actor, stage actor, film actor. That is your base. It's a craft. Okay? And even though you guys think, normally when you work for me, we're not asking you to do voices. We're hiring you for who you are, for your personality. But you have to learn how to function in an acting environment. Okay? So in the workshops I teach that I just started doing recently, because I started noticing things in the self-submitting and self-directing auditions that I've been getting, is that I hear the talent is there, but you guys don't know how to get there yet. And there's no one directing you. You're self-directing. You know, what I teach is how to break down your script, how to figure out who you are, why you're there. as a voice actor. And it really is important, because when I'm listening to 150 people per role, you know, I need to hear that something extra. And it's always that added extra understanding of what it is you're doing, right? Acting is reacting. So that is, and you work alone a lot of the time in voiceover. There's no one in there with you. It's just you. So you have to understand why you're there and what comes before, what comes after. So you're an actor. The Parks and Recreation departments teach great improv classes and acting. You don't have to spend a fortune to be able to get in.
And here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, all the classes are free.
Foundation, but right, you don't have to spend a fortune. There's so many great classes that are offered in your community that gets the kids up on their feet. Really shy kids, you know, improv classes are so great. They just get really comfortable with themselves, both speaking and on camera, and, you know, being in professional environments. It really brings them out of their shells.
Can I jump on just what you said?
Yeah.
And in life. Because once you're out of school and you're in the professional world, being comfortable giving a presentation, being in front of a room of people, it's just, you'll be learning life skills along the way. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Can we talk
totally
about
agree with you.
words for a moment?
Wait, I have
Oh,
to
sorry.
say something.
Take a knee. Yes, you go first, and then I'm gonna go after you.
Okay, because we're going down the line.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I jumped it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, adding on to all of that, improv is so important. Being able to bring humor to it, voiceover, like you want that. You want to be fast. You want to be loose. You want to have fun. There are so many things you can do on your own as well. Read out loud every day.
That's what I was
5
gonna
to 10
say.
read billboards as you're driving. That's what we learned in acting class as kids. As you're driving in the car, read the billboards. It used to drive my parents insane.
And make up funny voices for the people. Even though you'll probably not be hired to do a funny voice as a young person, at least it makes you kind of loose and fun, and it takes some of the pressure off of trying to get it right, because you don't want to get it right. You want to bring what you are and who you are to it, because they hear a lot of auditions of people trying to get it right. Mm-hmm. And I just know one of my favorite stories, which I constantly also remind the actor of because it made such a big impression to me, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Anybody know the show? Mm-hmm. Okay, so just gonna say I put 3 people on that, and I didn't know what a big deal it was at the time, because I was mad I didn't get everybody because I was like an obnoxious young agent. But so Jack DeSena had come from doing All That, which was a sketch comedy thing. He was maybe 14, 15 years old. The original one? Yeah, okay. Yeah. The second one that came out. No, I'm talking about the original one. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the role of Sokka was supposed to be like morose and dark, and Jack goes in and he's hilarious. He's a goofball. He's a goober. They totally reimagined the role based on Jack. I'm saying they even bring it up on the conventions with him. I'm just saying. So
it's a good story.
Thank you.
Yep. So now I don't have anything to say. No, but really talking about bringing things to life, reading. How important is reading comprehension? I want us to take a moment of silence for reading comprehension. Let's talk about it. Does everyone know what reading comprehension is? If you don't, be honest. Do you not know what it means?
They don't even call it that anymore.
What do they call it? What words? Reading? Okay.
It's not just the words, it's what they actually mean in the context of what you're saying. And this is one of the things that we do in the workshop is, you know, kids will start reading. I think they sound great. They obviously are a really good reader, but I'm like, stop. Why are you saying that? Do you understand why this character was chosen to say that? And that's comprehending the dialogue, and it makes you a smarter actor. It's like if I were talking to Melissa or anybody in this room, I speak, she listens to me, she answers me, I talk back to her based on what she says. It's listening all the time, and reading out loud.
And also, everything you just said, feel bad because I agree with it totally. Everything you just said. But when I teach, this is less when I do auditions, because at an audition I will give actors notes, but when I'm teaching, I'll say, okay, I need to give you a devastating note, and they'll listen. And I'll say, it sounds like you're just saying word, 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 word. I don't know what it's about. So we pronounce them really beautifully, but what's happening? So yeah, it's reading comprehension. It's part of the job.
all that, and then also know what you're reading for. If I send you an audition for the Loud House, it's not going to be like getting a read for Adventure Time. I'm just saying, it's just not. So you want to like pay attention to that, pay attention to the, if you're a gamer, even if you don't play games, you can find clips on YouTube, like know what you're doing. And I know that applies to on camera as well, like the genre of what you're auditioning for makes such a huge difference, and that's something that you do have control over, and you want to bring yourself to it, like really bring yourself. That's what they're listening for. That's what they want. And that's all ages. Yeah. And I also want to add what McKenna was saying about when somebody gets work and then they come back and they've totally leveled up. That's also all ages, because people suddenly, actors, you guys are a complicated breed. And you want, there's always that imposter syndrome of, do I belong here? I don't know. And then somebody hires you. You're like, oh, I guess I do. But like, you do. You're doing the work. You do. Bring that in and approach every audition knowing that this is your copy right now. This is what you will do with it when you have that job for the next however many years it's going to be. And have fun. Because if it's not fun, it's going to really be bad later.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Here at the
There's shows are on the air already. Like when I was doing Spidey and other shows, they're on the air and they have a style. So when you get an audition, even for a really small role on one of those shows, there's research right there that you can actually watch and see the style. Like Loud House, perfect example. It's got its own style as opposed to auditioning for a game or auditioning, for an animated movie. There's stuff out there that you can do your own research on and see, how do I fit into this puzzle?
How much of the onus is on the performer themselves to do the research, or the parent or guardian or stage parent to do it?
It's on the kids.
Did y'all hear that? Repeat that one more time so they can hear it.
It's on the kids.
It's on you.
You guys are... when you guys are all really smart. This is another thing, plus to do voiceover, you have to have a certain grade point average. So I know I'm always working with a certain level.
Work permit.
To get a work permit, especially in California. But you guys are the boss. You walk into that booth and you don't have, you're it. You're in there. I hired you as a professional like I would hire him. And I treat the kids and the adults exactly the same. Because you're doing the same job for me.
And getting paid the same.
And getting paid.
And you have the same responsibilities. And it's
Absolutely.
harder for kids because after you work all day on set, or you still have homework to do. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot, and it's not for everyone.
And you have to
go
keep
to
your work
school all
permit up.
day.
Go to school.
And then you work
Yeah.
after school, which is hard.
Well, I just want to say how important the work permits are, and that is not the kid, that's the parent. Like, pay attention to that, mark it in your calendar, apply for it. I think it's, McKenna, like 4 weeks before it expires or something that you can...
At least. Right now it's like 5.
Okay. You got to do that. Stay on it, because they've also made it more difficult. It used to be that, it was expired, and it's like, oh, and then you would get a letter from production, which also annoys the production, or in my case, annoys whoever is hiring you, because they were hired by the production to bring in people who have a valid work permit. So it's like levels of, oh my gosh, we don't need to deal with this. So now they're making them write a letter that includes their
Specific
minor
number, yeah.
Yeah, the number that proves they can work with minors. Like, they just have leveled up how many blocks we have to go through. So the easiest thing is just keep your work permit up to date and your dues.
SAG, your dues.
So you can do that.
Theirs, and they're good for 6 months. I don't know if that matters, but
Yeah, they're 6 months.
And they're pretty fast. Though. They used to be months, like weeks away. It was done within a week.
You must know somebody.
McKenna, what were you going to say?
Be nice to them, and they'll be nice to you.
I was just going to touch on the reading comprehension thing.
Sure.
I think what they were saying about making sure you know what you're saying and what she was saying about why you're saying it, you also want to comprehend what the other lines are. So I think a lot of kids are like, they do the word, and they know their lines and they know what they're saying. And then when someone else starts speaking, they shut down. And they wait for their turn to talk, and then they go again. So an important thing to be able to comprehend and know is, what is the other person saying to me? What does it mean, what they're saying? How is that affecting me? Because if I said a line, I said it for a purpose. I want to get something out of Howard. I want something from you. There's a reason I'm talking and a reason I'm doing this scene, and I have a goal and a stake. And if I care about what I'm saying, then I need to comprehend what the other person is saying, because how do I know if I won? How do I know if I got what I wanted?
And adding from what McKenna just said, when we're looking, there are a lot of writers I work with who write tremendous amount of stage direction. And then there are a lot of writers that don't. So there are clues in the script, and that's learning about how to understand and how to read a script. So I was working with an actress, kid actress, and her response line, her reaction line didn't make any sense. And I said, but what did the other character just say? Why would you be saying it in that tone? She goes, oh. And I said, you have to read it a bunch of times and read it and find out the story and figure out what the relationship is between them. What's the dynamic? And they're like, oh. And once you start getting into the habit and learning how to read a script, which is different than reading a book, it's a skill, and you're going to learn it.
And it's imagination, and that comes to play in all aspects. It's like imagination. Have fun with it. Unleash yourself. When you're in a voiceover studio, it's a bunch of padded walls and you know? I mean, your scene partners are in your head, and that's a really good place to have them because they can't make trouble, you know? Like, you can do whatever you want. It's just so fun.
Or can they?
Ooh, those are good auditions. You want your obstacles. But yeah, just unleash that though. Like, and also another tool I think is good is like imagine yourself walking onto that set, walking into the recording room. Imagine yourself with the job already. Take some of that fear away. Use imagination for that because it comes true.
All jokes aside, here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, you can actually go into a lab and experience what it's like to close a heavy door, to look across the glass and see an engineer. And so that real world application will carry over to your first day at the booth so that you don't look like a beginner, right? So if you can do it, and if you can iterate and to keep doing it and learning how to do it and be comfortable, when you go onto real set, you're a pro. And everyone will say, that kid's a pro. How do they know? SAG-AFTRA Foundation. But questions actually, but I want to go back to talk about parents and their responsibilities. What makes a good stage parent or guardian, and what are some pitfalls folks can avoid in their quest to be the best parent, guardian?
Oh, now I get to go first? Okay. Oh, okay.
No, that's good.
Hold on a second.
You're not
Speak honestly. Let them know.
You're
Let them
not
know.
stage parents. You're parents. You're not coaches.
Round of applause for that.
Right? You're not coaches. You just make sure that when Melissa or McKenna or Howard, when you get copy or information about something that you're auditioning for, okay, it's not your job to decipher it for your kids. They're entering into a professional environment, so they need to do this on their own. No coaching. Make sure they know all the words, especially if they're on the younger side. But what I find is the kids aren't given the power to be their own boss. And I like it when they're driving to the recording session, no one's talking about what they're going to do. If they're working on a song that they have to do, or if they're reading their script again, that they walk in there and these are their ideas. Like Melissa said, imagination, use your own ideas. I don't like it when kids walk in and their scripts are marked up. My mom said this was funny. My dad said to laugh here. Mm-hmm. That's my job, okay? Just make sure, read it once, don't read it out loud, know what it's about, come in, I will tell you what to do. And I find that they come in and they're so much more relaxed, you know? I don't even use the iPad. We use paper so that when we change lines and we make notes, the kids know, oh, I need to make sure I have a pencil, I need to have this, I need to have that in my recording session. Because if they are hearing me say a line, I say it wrong, but they like it, they're going to change it. We will change it if you guys do it better than we wrote it. So you have a lot of power in the room. So just be parents, you know, feed them, make sure that they're happy. Bring them, and that's really all that you need to do because, you know, you don't want that anxiety of someone telling you afterwards that you didn't do a good job or how did you do or did you do it this way? Stay out of it. This is between them and me, them and Howard, them and whomever they happen to be working for. You know, give them that license. Just be the parent. That's all you need to do because there's a reason they got hired. It's because they're talented. And let them be talented. Let them make the choice.
Independent thinkers. How about that?
Independent thinkers. Yeah. If you need to go to the bathroom, don't ask me. Just say, excuse me, Miss Maria, I'm got to step out for a minute. Or I need to sit down. Or I need a snack. Or something. It's not, you know, you're even with me. Okay?
That snack thing, that goes on forever.
Mm-hmm. The snacking does go on.
It does.
Don't eat certain things before you come in to record, right? Don't go to a Lakers game before coming in to record so that your voice is at 100%, right? Be honest with me. My grandma died today. I'm a little sad. or I had a really bad day in school.
I hope
I
you
love
cancel.
hearing about it and
I
talking
hope you
about it.
cancel a session if someone's grandma died.
Well, usually
I'm
the
talking
kids
mental
are-
health here a little bit.
Kids are super open when they
Okay.
come in. Adults are not so much, but kids will come in and you say, okay, what's going on? Well, I got this in my class or whatever. Once they talk about it, they get it off their chest, we're able to move on. But they have lives too. And when I get them after 6 hours of school, there's a lot going on there. So I see injuries, I see things walking into the booth. You want them to be able to be 100% when they come in. If you're sick, don't come in. If you have a cold, don't come in. If you don't sound exactly like you need to sound, do not come in. I will not get mad. We will reschedule you. But it costs a lot more money to come in with a cold because you think you're going to get fired than it does for me to get that call. Everybody has my cell phone. So-and-so's not feeling very well. I don't think we're going to come in. Great.
So that goes back to communicate with your representation too, when something's up and you're not up to it. But I just also wanted to add to that when you said what makes a really good stage parent, what they have to do, everything that Maria is saying, and just be supportive, but also be listening to them. If they're, I keep going back to it, just if they're not happy and not wanting to keep doing it, it's okay. There's other ways to be a successful human being in life. So, I'm not trying to push anybody out of the business, but I'm just saying it's
a
so
hard
important.
business.
And honestly, and it gets harder also as you get older. All of a sudden you're dealing with puberty and oh my God, no one wants to go through that again. Nobody on this panel would want to. And it's even worse for an actor, And so then you have to figure out how to keep yourself together and keep your confidence and go through all of that and all the social issues that kids have moving into young adulthood. It's a lot.
And we're not, as like she's saying, kids are going to change, kids are going to grow, and we're not signing the parent, even though I want to meet the parent and I want to make sure the parent's cool and is going to communicate and knows how to email and work a self-tape. But we're signing the kid because we want to see what you would do, what the kid would do with a script that 100 other kids who look and sound just like her may not do with the script. So we want the kid. So I think something that I find when we're meeting with parents or after a kid has been with us for a while, a kid's going to change. Maybe they're getting quirky. Maybe they're getting louder. Maybe they're making crazy big choices on scripts and stuff. And some parents try to squash that, especially as kids are going into that teen phase where they may be changing. We want the kids to be themselves. So let them lead the process. Let them make those big choices on the script. If you have an agent who's worth her salt, she's watching the tape. She'll tell you if it's not okay. But the kid can make the choices. And then let it land on us and make those decisions for you guys.
And then when casting's watching a tape, there's a uniqueness to it. And I want you to bring your own unique spin to it. Actors inform the roles. Writers will write something. And depending on the writers that I work with, and when I was working on the series Bunked for a bunch of years, my showrunner, executive producer, loved when actors would beat the page or do something. I'm not saying you have to try to be or do something wacky. That's not what I'm saying. Just your personal uniqueness is going to inform the role and how they're going to write it. So that's what I look for. And I don't want someone to do a cookie cutter audition. And sometimes I'll be watching some kids' tapes and I could tell they all went to the same coach because they're all doing the same indication at the exact same beat at the exact same moment. And yeah, try not to do that.
How does someone make themselves? I'm sorry, McKenna, go ahead.
To say that goes back to what Melissa was saying about not trying to get it right. I think I send that note more than I send most other notes, which is like you don't know what we want. You don't know what they're looking for. And I think especially in the teen space when kids start to get like 12 and 13 and 14 and they want to fit in and get it right and everything, we would rather see just who you are. So don't worry about getting it right. Don't worry about impressing us. I would rather see you just be yourself than trying to fit in.
And for all ages, just because you don't get that job doesn't mean they're not listening to you and keeping you in mind for something down the line. I mean, I've had that happen so many times. And I had a young actor who was doing well with voiceover and then again puberty, which is difficult. And he was having a dark time, and I was just like, you just have to keep doing your good reads. That's it. Just believe, just keep doing it. And so like, a couple of years later or whatever, he's on set with a very big, he got hired for a voiceover job on set with the big producer. And he's like, I'm so glad to have you. I've been listening to your auditions for so long. We finally have something that's a perfect fit, 3 years later on the job. But and he's like, yeah, it really happened. I'm like, yeah, not my first rodeo, but okay. But that's it. It's like you're just building your own sense of self and who you are as an actor and putting that out into the marketplace. And just, you got to enjoy it too. If you don't enjoy this, like there's a lot better ways to make a living as an adult, a lot easier. You know,
I think people
Gotta
think
love
about
it.
body of work and they think about just what's been produced and available to view, but body of work is also auditioning, right? Curious about when the pandemic happened and everything turned to remote and Zoom. How does someone who's new to the business, a young talent who's unknown, how do they make themselves stand out besides like reading the copy well? Is it quirky slate? Can they talk about themselves a little bit before they get going? What do y'all like to see or don't like to see or hear?
I am giving my opinion. I have other casting directors who have totally different opinions, and I respect them. I don't care. I just want to know what I asked for in the slate, your name, your age if you're under 18, where you currently live. That's all I need to know. Sometimes people like tell a story or do a joke. I just stop listening and I go on to the scene. But if you want to do that, you be you. But casting directors that I respect that work in the space that I do, like Suzanne Goddard-Spithe, Krisha Bullock, love personality slates. So if Howard doesn't care, I'll just stop watching and go to the scene. Suzanne's watching the whole thing. And that's great.
Yeah. With voiceover, your slate for me is the most important thing. I like to hear, "Hi, my name is Maria Estrada and I'm auditioning for the role of Spider-Man." You know, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear, "Hi, my name is..." No. Who are you right off the bat? Boom. Because you know what? If anything, the energy of it launches you right into your audition. You know, you have that confidence going into your audition. And it's important. You know, I don't need to I like the name, usually the age, sometimes. With voiceover, I think it's different. A lot of kids, they always tell me who their agent are. What I love is that I'm 7 3/4 when they tell you how old they are. But it's so important because I can't see you, right? That's the introduction to me of who you are and the confidence that you have reading that copy, you know. And hopefully when you get it, going back to what we were talking about, the parents' responsibility, when you guys get stuff like with voiceover, when I send out my copy, it has as much information as legally they will let me give you, okay? Some copy kids will get that it's just line, 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 line. They don't tell you who you are. They don't tell you who you're in a scene with. Ask those questions.
Or make it up.
Yeah.
Make it up. Because
Decide,
I guarantee you
she's this or she's that. If they won't give you any more information, decide what it is on your own.
if you're making a strong choice, they know you can make a strong choice. It might not be the right choice. That's okay. They'll help you out, you know. But yeah, that's important.
Asking questions is okay. It's an okay process.
I think it's great because the agents, most of the agents will come right to me. You know, I will go right to Melissa and say, "Hey, Melissa, did they get all the information?" When I'm not hearing what I think I'm supposed to be hearing, because most of my auditions, if not all, they got to sing as well. So that's an added extra thing. And what I love is even if you can't, have a go at it. Just do it, because we may decide that role doesn't have to sing that well if we love you as an actor. We've recast many things where...
Maybe bad singing could be the joke.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or could it? Or maybe not.
And if it's but if it's a show for little tiny
for it.
kids, if it's a show that's aimed at preschool little tiny kids, they're not going to want to hear like Maria Callas
you need to be a
singing,
Broadway
you know what I
singer.
mean? They want to hear somebody they can sing along with and feel good too.
You guys like to hear yourselves. We find, especially with younger kids in preschool animation shows, that they love to hear what, you know, kids that sound exactly like they do, which is lisps or braces or missing teeth or whatever. It's all an added thing for who you are. I love boys' voices when they start to crack. That's one thing you can't get unless it's natural. And we have cast incidental roles. Send me all your boys that are going through puberty, and I have them read the copy, and we love it because it's so natural, and it's great. So life changes. So just kind of go with it.
But
That's
actually
what I have to
interesting.
say with voiceover.
When things are slow in the on-camera world, where puberty may be something that holds you back on camera, puberty is actually a great thing in voiceover because it leads to a new character, right?
Well, yes and no, because if it's a long-term project or something like that, you know, 6 months later they bring you in to do pickups and it's like your dad dropped you off and, you know, stepped into the booth. Like I've had that happen where it's literally been almost overnight. Someone's, you know, and then their mom's like, he had a cold. I said, well, you should have told me not to go in so we could see, because it planted a seed that because the kid was hoarse, that maybe he's changing. And unfortunately, that's a whole other trauma problem. I know,
We
but
usually ask
I was also going to say, just in terms of, because people sometimes ask when I'm listening to an actor, either for representation or when I'm listening to the auditions that are coming in, I'll close my eyes and I'll picture, do I see what's going on? Do I know who they're talking to? How far are they from them? All those same things that you have, like McKenna's saying in live action and Howard's saying in live action. But it's also like that goes back to the reading comprehension also, and what is new and interesting and fun that they're doing. Am I listening, or does it sound like they're just lining? Because even in voiceover, you can't. You've got to be involved in that scene. And when you're watching a cartoon, you don't just watch stuff as a civilian. Like, watch it while you're listening to how they work. And I would assume with live action too, watch the performance. What's the word? Examine the performance as you're doing it. What do you love about it? What's bringing you in? Is it the way that they're listening and reacting? Like, that feeds into live action too. I'm sorry, into voiceover. It's definitely in live action, because a lot of good roles are the listening as well. It's not just the talking. Okay, I'll stop talking.
No, that's great. This is all great information. I actually want to get to some of the questions that the parents wrote in and kids wrote in. Since we're on the topic of characters, what do you look for from talent when you're casting a series regular or prominent role in a project? And this can be for on-camera or voiceover.
Well,
You go first, Howard.
well, if it's for if I'm casting for a guest role, it's someone who's going to be able to inform that character, make it pop for that week's episode. Agents will often ask, "Will this be recurring?" And I'll say, "Well, I don't see the character dying at the end of the episode, so yes." But it's true. But very often there'll be an incidental 3-line co-star. It happened. I can't remember. I think it was one of your clients on Pretty Freaking Scary. He had like 2 lines in the first episode, and he just made it pop. And they just kept writing for that character for the whole season. And now I'm forgetting his name, which is horrible.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, okay,
Pretty Freaking Scary was a minute ago.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Anyway, but the point of the story is that very often they'll keep writing because he might have been, I'm sure, great in the role. He also might have been really nice to have on set and very easy to be around. And then people just like, let's just bring them back. And that often happens.
Brett. It was
Brett.
Brett. It was Brett.
Yes, it
Brett.
was,
Yes, he came back and back and back. Yes.
Yeah. When I'm casting a series regular, there's a lot of pressure. And we're looking for someone who's going to bring the character to life, all the ingredients that the writers want. There's an agenda with the studio or a network or streamer and what they're looking for. And we also look and wonder, what will they look like over the next 5 years? Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'll say, I've worked on, this is a Nickelodeon project, they did this, and like, hey, do you have brothers and sisters? Can you bring them in? Because they want to see how big the brothers and sisters are, is wondering how tall they're going to be. But you look at that, because and that's what we look for. Who's going to make the sides pop, the character memorable, and we say a little prayer.
Well, with voiceover, I look at it like I'm putting a little puzzle together. A little voice puzzle together. And it's not necessarily the kids or the adults with the most experience. There's just something unique about what they bring to the copy when we're casting main characters. You'll have five characters you have to cast, 6 to 9 years old, all ethnicities. 7 to 11, gender open, or whatever it is, the description. I like to see that they've paid attention to the material that they've gotten. They understand that it's going to be a series regular. And there's a unique, I put so many kids through college. I've hired so many kids that have never, ever, ever done voiceover, ever. So to me, it's not what you've done, it's what you're doing for me right then. And there's that confidence, and sometimes we end up changing our minds about how we want to cast something because somebody reads something else on accident. And we're like, oh, this boys normally read this role. Why did, she decide to read it? And not because they wanted to read the opposite gender role. They just happened to like the copy and thought that they would read it. So and when one little piece of my puzzle falls out, it is not easy to plug that hole. Right? So there's a longevity, too, that you try to see You know, we normally have callbacks where, you know, we'll ask the agents to have them read 1 or 2 more times. Then they'll come in to meet us. It's usually not a lot of us, but there's a lot of, you know, trying to figure it out. And then I'm auditioning the parents as well. So when the parents come in, I like to see how the parents are behaving when they come in for these callbacks.
When you say behave, what do you mean?
Can I tell a horror story?
You tell a horror story. I have plenty.
About being professional, and I will say that you have to give the perception that you're easygoing. And if you carpool with other parents, you know people who are not easygoing. But you have to present that you are going to be easy to work with and not confrontational in the waiting room and not challenge. So I'm doing auditions for this series regular role, and the script was totally rewritten and the sides were absolutely different. This kid came in, this was pre-pandemic, so it was in person, and the kid started reading. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have the old sides from like last year. I go out, I tell the mom, you can come back, give him the sides. We'll get you in anytime. You can come back later today. I could see you later this week. I'm going next. And she told me, absolutely not. This is how he's doing it. And I looked at her and I'm like, no. And she was having a stare off with me, and I just said, no. And then I called the agent and just said, never. Because when you're working on a television show, especially if you're working on a sitcom, the script changes every single day. And if you are going to have a meltdown about the sides changing, the script's going to keep changing until we finally shoot the episode. This is not the world you should be working in. So yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that, y'all.
Level of when they're casting you, for us to trust you enough and know you're going to be professional enough to submit you for a series regular role is another thing too. Like if I'm submitting someone for a series regular to Howard or whoever, I want to know that you can carry that role. I want to know that when I send you in series regular, that's a lot more text. If you're used to going out for co-stars and that's your level of comprehension and that's your level of decision making, and you can't make bigger decisions and you're not popping for co-stars, you might not be ready to go out for series regulars. So those that are in our series regular folder that we're submitting all of the time, they make big choices and we know they can comprehend and handle a lot of text, and that's important too.
Also want to talk about commitment, because it's very different on this side of the stage than on that side of the stage. Because if you're going out for something on camera, like you're going to be there 5 days a week. If it's voiceover, you'll be there, a couple hours, couple times a month. So it's a different impact or a week.
If you're a series regular.
Couple times a week?
No, just like.
Once a week.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm just saying it's more flexible on the VO side of it in terms of the life impact. It's not quite the same uproot the whole family who lives in Iowa and come out here and relocate. Like that's not the case.
Not to mention that the auditions are a lot easier to handle when you're doing voiceover, because you don't have to memorize copy, and also you don't memorize copy, and then you can read it and just get it done.
But you still have to prepare it. It's
Yes.
funny because there's a whole misconception. Everyone's like, I want my client to do voiceover because they can do it in their pajamas. I'm like, yeah, but they still have to do the work. We can't tell you're in your pajamas, but you still got to do the work. You just don't have to drive if you're doing from home.
Speaking of representation and lack of representation, how do folks who are not represented with managers or agents, how do they get into casting? Can they submit to you directly? How does it work? Casting sites online?
Well, it depends. It depends on the project I'm casting and the budget that we have. The last few projects I've been working on, I put the breakdown also out on Actors Access. So I'm assuming if it's for young roles, parents are submitting for them. If they're over 18, I'm guessing they're submitting on their own. We look for the same level of professionalism. So, and here's just the weird thing. My associate was saying this to me. He can't believe how many people submit on Actors Access and then never send a tape in.
Oof. Oh.
And I'm like, and I said, I think maybe they're just seeing if it works.
Wait, what do you mean? Explain that.
They submit on Monday for a role. We send out a self-tape request. It's Friday. They still haven't sent it in. It's bonkers. You don't believe me? No one believes me.
No. I'm just curious why one would not take advantage of the opportunities.
And they don't even respond. They're like saying, I'm not available, I booked another job, I'm doing a film, I've got tests in school, just some response.
The point is you got to communicate. And if you're a child, you need to get your parents to help you with this process as well, right? So if it's not getting done, you need to ask for help. So communicate. All right, we've got to wrap up soon, but I want to ask you all one piece of advice you give to kids specifically in their journeys to be on camera or voiceover actors moving forward. Aside from come to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation.
Which is really true. I've been very impressed by demos and things that have been done from here. This is an awesome resource. So you guys, and it's great you guys are here starting to take advantage of it or in process of taking advantage of it. I just, yeah, yay. It's good stuff. Not much beyond what I've already said. Honestly, you have to love it, enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the path of it, because the fact is that the closest you get to some of those roles might be the audition. So just have fun, do it for the joy of it. And, hopefully everything lines up that you get the job. But even if not, you enjoy the process. Just enjoy the process.
And just be prepared. That's the best thing you can do, because you may go into situations in live action and theatrical that there's a lot of tension in the room. Just be prepared, and if you're prepared, you'll be able to go in there and do the best job ever and love it. Make sure that you're loving it, okay? You can't do it because you want to be famous or anything like that. Being a creative person is an illness, and anybody that is one will tell you. People ask me, what do you do for a living? I still think choreographer, but that's not what I've done for 30 years. But that's what I still think. So it's in here. Parents with kids that have that thing, don't ignore it. Just make sure that they have the tools to be able to succeed. And one of those I think is really important is being prepared.
You're still a choreographer, though. You are. You're choreography.
I always do choreography.
Yeah, you are a choreographer.
We do choreography.
Yeah, that's what you
in
do.
my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear the dance. I can see the moves. Two-step.
I love it.
Howard?
Echoing what you just heard, it's the joy. And if you're enjoying doing it, it usually comes through. I could see it on your audition tapes. I could see it when you're on set. And if it ever becomes a drag and it's too much and you've got homework and you've got take a break, do something else, come back to it if you want to. But yeah, have fun. I'm going to hate this direction note. Have fun with it. It's the perception that you're having fun with it, but you should be having fun with it.
Be yourself. I think we've said that about 1,000 times, but I know it's such a nebulous sentence. How do I be myself? Who am I? But there's only one you, as cliche as that is, and no one's going to make the decisions that you do, and no one looks and talks and thinks exactly the way you do. And so being yourself and being well-rounded and continuing dance classes and continuing going to improv and volunteering at the animal shelter and being a well-rounded person and doing all of those things you love, that's when you get in the room with any of us to get representation or to talk to casting, we want to know who you are, and you can't let us know who you are if you don't know and if you aren't well-rounded. So keep living all aspects of your life.
Wonderful advice. Thank you all so much. Please join me in thanking our panelists for their generous chime and insight. Thank you all so much for coming, and best of luck in your future careers. We can't wait to see what you do.